Feels like a really good time to do this video. ADA down around 26% right now. It was approaching 70 cents, and right now we're falling below 50 cents. This is the time to zoom out on the charts and explain to you why Cardano right now is exactly on pace. And this is so important for me. It's to put aside emotion. I'm not trying to project any type of hopium onto anybody right now. But for me, through my crypto journey over the years, I need to put aside the emotion of it all, these mental barriers, and look at the data. And that's why in this video, I want to break down the weekly chart and a couple really important points in terms of where ADA is on the macro in these cycles, because I'm telling you, data perspective alone, this makes me incredibly bullish. And this move to the downside that crypto is in right now, it couldn't be any more normal. And I just want to show you what the data looks like. This isn't an opinion. This isn't me trying to, once again, throw any type of hopium out there. This is truly just what the data says, and I want to break it down. I think it's a really important reminder for myself. I just want to share it with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like, and let's jump into the video, everybody. This video, by the way, sponsored by Coinledger. I'm actually going to just, in the middle of the video, give you a brief demo on importing an ADA address into Coinledger, how simple it is to track your staking. But let's start with this chart. This is halving data, and that's where I want to start. These halvings, and this is I'm talking about Bitcoin halvings, they provide the most essential roadmap for any crypto chart, any altcoin chart. If you're in any altcoin, I think it is imperative that we understand the cycles of Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin, as I often say, is the roadmap for crypto, and it really all pivots around these Bitcoin halvings. So I want to start with halving data, and then we're going to talk about charting data. The charting data is where I become even more bullish on ADA, and I think the charting data displays and gives hints of why Cardano this cycle around is actually really bullish, not only on pace, but powerfully ahead of last cycle. So let's start with halving data. I just want to make a note. Right around 77 days prior to the next halving. That's kind of where we are right now. We look at last cycle, 77 days prior to the last halving. Ironically, as I'm doing this video, this was the COVID dip, the capitulation for ADA down to like under 2 cents. Imagine that. What I want to point out in terms of the halving data is we're trying to get a sense of where are we in terms of the timeline perspective this cycle around. And this shows it very nicely. So in terms of where we are, right here was basically COVID happening prior to the last halving. Now, what I really want to point out is this, and let's backtrack just a few weeks. Let's say, because that was a black swan event, hopefully we don't get another black swan event this year, hopefully. So far we haven't, right? So let's just backtrack a few weeks. Let's call this move back here, right at this general area, this move, basically exiting the bear market. A lot of similarities there. And I want to note right now, I do not think that this move happening out of the bear market is this move. The charting data is going to reveal some very different type of charting setups and technical analysis that I think is going to demonstrate to you all why ADA is ahead this time. So very similar, exiting the bear market, kind of exiting the bear market, right? And if we look at the price range of this, by the way, from that swing low of the bear market to swing high, we're looking at around 140%, let's call it. And then this time around, swing low to swing high, around 170 some percent. So if we're going to compare this timeline perspective, ADA is actually outperforming last cycle out of the bear market. So that's number one. Now, that's surprising because there is this concept of kind of diminishing returns, diminishing gains out of these cycles throughout different cryptos. So it's pretty cool to see ADA alone in this regard has outperformed. But this isn't really even the bullish data. The bullish data for me, and that just gives you some context in terms of where we are with the Bitcoin halving, and it's just months away. It is coming up very quickly. The bullish data is right here around charting data, and this is what I really want to break down in terms of how ADA is powerfully ahead, and this plays right into why the dip that we're getting right now it's probably good that it's happening. I say it's very commonplace that it's happening, but I'll take it a step further and say it's probably good that it's happening. That's what I want to break down. We're going to break it down on this weekly chart. First, I just want to visit very quickly Coinledger, everybody. Hit the link in the comments below, pinned comment, the description below. Please sign up with them. You can set up a free account just to get started with them, but sign up with them. Crypto tax is done in minutes. I say this time and time again in terms of my crypto journey, making sure, for instance, Cardano staking is done properly, tracked, taken into account in terms of gains and in terms of portfolio through these cycles. It is so important. I can't even stress it enough. This takes minutes just to get the entire headache out of the way. There's probably a lot of people that are still doing all of this manually. Crypto taxes in general manually, let alone Cardano staking and tracking staking. This makes it incredibly easy. A ton of crypto people are using this. This is one of the best well-known brands in all of crypto. Coinledger, the team over there, they've been a sponsor for years. Import transactions. I'm about to show you the ADA import transactions, right? So Coinbase, MetaMask, Cardano wallets. Preview your report, check out your report, see what the gains are looking like, and you generate the tax report for your taxes. And truly, this is all within minutes. If you go over here, here's the import screen. We can add account. You can see there's a ton of exchanges, a ton of stuff going on. You can just very simply, in this case, hit Cardano, and we can hit auto import. And I'm going to paste the address. It's a demo address, by the way. It's importing. And depending on the amount of transactions that you're going to have in a wallet or an exchange, it's going to take longer or quicker. In this case, there's 15, and boom, transactions are there. If you have staking happening in your address, those transactions will be there. You can click transaction screens, and you can kind of go and you can look at some of the transactions. You can see what's going on. You can open up the transactions and see what's going on. Then you go to tax reports, and you have your tax report. Now, in this case, this is where the tax report will be, and you can do multiple things. You can export the report. You can invite your CPA, for instance. You can add your tax professional. And this is just where it all just comes together. I just went through that 3-step process where you're just tracking your Cardano wallet. And many of you, like me, probably have exchanges you need to hook up, right? You need to go to the import page, add account. There's all of these exchanges. If you have a MetaMask account or a MetaMask wallet address like I do, you can hook that up. You can import via API, or you can import just CSV files from the exchanges. So everybody, go click the link below, get set up with Coinledger. Make sure you're covering your taxes, everybody. Taxes, you need to do them. And I'm telling you, if you do them right and if you plan around them, you will have so much more success in the crypto space. And it's also obviously the right thing to do, everybody. Don't put this off. So sign up with them below, and appreciate once again Coinledger for sponsoring this video. On to charting data. The charting data aspect is where it's at, everybody. And I can't say this enough. I'm going to show you. But there's really 3 pieces to the charting data that says, you know what? Yeah, we evaluated the Bitcoin halving, this time frame perspective. ADA is in a very similar move. We evaluated that, but there's something different going on this time around. And it's this move. And I've talked a lot about this move right there, that powerful move to the swing high post Bitcoin halving. That's the move that I think that we are in right now. And if you even just look at this higher, that swing high move for ADA. That move, you see it very clearly on this chart. That swing high was after the Bitcoin halving. But let's start with RSI and break down the momentum of this move. So if we just go to the RSI, slower moving momentum oscillator, we look at overbought, where ADA has just been in this swing high, and we very simply look at the momentum of the last cycle. The Bitcoin halving move out of the cycle, out of the bear cycle, there was not that momentum. It did not approach overbought territories. It did not have that bullish momentum. But this move, post Bitcoin halving, did. And there's where the similarity is on the RSI. Just above 80 each time on the RSI before topping out, which is so normal for any crypto. It's hitting overbought on the RSI and it needs to cool down. So last cycle, it cooled down on the RSI to, that 55 to around 50 range to the downside. And that is to say, there's still room to the downside. The daily chart that we see here, ADA hovering at 50. We all want ADA just to see support at 50. There's room to the downside. I'm going to talk more about that. But even so, it is exactly on pace with the last cycle. And again, that's just what the data says. But more importantly, the data is saying this entire move that is in play right now is happening way earlier than last cycle. Last cycle, it happened after the Bitcoin halving. So yeah, there's still a little bit more room to the downside on the RSI. The other thing I want to discuss is the moving averages, because this also plays into now the similarity. So we see the RSI similarity. Now let's look at the moving average similarity. Check out the 20-week moving average crossing above the 50-week moving average. An important pivot point in terms of moving averages from a bear market to a bull market. The same is true. The 20 falling below the 50 is an important pivot from a bull market to a bear market. We survived all of it, right? Now we're entering a new cycle. This happened last cycle right here around the Bitcoin halving in this move to the upside that we're evaluating and comparing. Did it happen in this Bitcoin, in this move out of the bear market, which is a similar time frame perspective as where we are right now? No, it didn't happen. But we do have that moving average similarity right here comparative to around Bitcoin halving. The fact is, it's happening earlier this cycle around. If ADA were to repeat last cycle, it wouldn't have happened yet. We'd only be getting the 20-week moving average crossing the 50 right around Bitcoin halving. It's happening earlier this time. And the other thing to point out is while that's happening, you can see ADA breaking out of this upper trend line of this descending triangle. We had a nice structure of a kind of a descending triangle setup in the bear market formation this cycle around. And very similar thing happened last cycle, descending triangle. And if you notice, ADA broke out of the descending triangle right around Bitcoin halving, right around the 20-week moving average crossing above the 50 last cycle. And again, what is happening? It broke out of the upper trend line way sooner than Bitcoin halving this cycle around. That is to say, and if we just measure the time frame of it, we can even just look at the breakout was right around 161 days prior to the Bitcoin halving, the breakout out of that triangle. And if we look, guess what? It happened at Bitcoin halving last cycle around. It's over 150 days kind of ahead in terms of this move to the upside. All of that charting data that I just showed you, I mean, I think it really just speaks for itself in demonstrating why this move is very similar to this move. And I would say more similar to this move than this Bitcoin halving move. And the key point to take away from that is we are earlier this time. ADA is moving more powerfully, more earlier this cycle around. And the other key point to take away from this is this. I'm gonna just show you some data. It's gonna look scary, but it is what it is. From the swing high of the similar move last cycle to the swing low, ADA dipped around 55%. If we look at ADA this time around, we're looking at so far a total dip of around 33%. If we take this 55%, check this out. ADA is throwing back to the pattern itself. Throwing back to the pattern. I want to just make a note. Is that going to happen? Maybe not, but that would be exactly on pace with what ADA did last cycle. Cardano, altcoins, Bitcoin in general, probably all just approaching oversold areas, especially like on the daily charts, getting ready to probably bounce. But notice, last cycle, I just want to throw this out there. Last cycle, ADA didn't throw all the way back to the trend line or to the apex of that triangle. It consolidated between the 20 and the 50. And that's why right now, that's all I'm watching. Are we going to get 20-week moving average and 50-week moving average consolidation? The 50-week moving average around 36 cents right now. There's still room for downside. And it would be so common. It would be so normal. It is so important for me just to discuss this because when we're zoomed in on the charts and we see ADA dipping, it's kind of like, why are we not above $1 yet? What is going on? Why is it falling back below 50 cents? It's kind of like, well, it's not supposed to be above $1. It's not supposed to be above $1 yet. It's just on pace. It's on track with how ADA moves. And all cryptos kind of have this very similar type of consistency throughout their cycles. Bitcoin has proven that so much, especially on my YouTube channels. I've tracked it for over 6 years now. The consistencies that I'm looking at on ADA, this data that I'm looking at on ADA, this is happening on other charts, especially Bitcoin. And it's just that data that is so helpful. I want to point something out to you. And this really puts things in perspective. From the swing high back here, right? We're looking at, from a timeline perspective. I want to do a timeline perspective. This pre-Bitcoin halving swing high out of the bear market, right? To timeline perspective, where we are right now, similar area. ADA is up 800%. ADA is 800% higher after a bear market this cycle than where it was at this time last cycle. Cardano is the most secure, decentralized blockchain. It is built to last. It's not scaling maybe as quickly as people want it to, but it's built to scale. And it's built for projects and ecosystems to build on top of it in a secure fashion for the long term. And as a macro-minded investor, the fact that ADA is where it is right now and the charts are doing what they're doing right now, and it's so consistent with what should be happening, with all the underlining just fundamental foundation of it all, how Cardano is built as a blockchain, as a value investor, it's the top pick for me. And this is why. And this is something I need to remind myself of often as we're zoomed in on the charts and we're looking at the daily chart. And, Cardano's just kind of doing its own thing. It's on pace. And that is what it is. And it's not a hopium statement. It's nothing more than data. I'm just breaking down the data for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, everybody. I appreciate you. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I will see you in the next video. God bless.